Hi guys,
Everybody knows Svalbard.
I've run many marathons. I would call this the most brutal.
The challenging part for me is the weather.
วันนี้เป็นวันที่หนาวที่สุด I never experienced running in a very white or very amazing.
It's a mix of running on ice and then running on the road.
It's very cold at that time.
I struggled on the first loop.
The wind and the cold is the most significant I've ever faced in a marathon.
Then there's some headwinds, tailwinds.
I felt like I was running in place, and the wind was just pushing me backwards.
Almost.
Quite a challenge.
Body's trying to survive.
It's the first ever FWD 78-degree North Marathon. I'm happy to do this. To be the female champion means a lot.
How inspiring, how inspiring. You know, FWD is more than just an insurance company for all of us, especially for me. But I was just telling Roche, what they are is really an enabler of many people's passion. So whether you are a solar Lola or a person who's differently able or a woman who wants to conquer what is probably the most brutal geographic terrain on earth, FWD is there to enable you. Now speaking of the biggest enabler in the company, I could, all the lights are preventing me from seeing, but I think we have here the greatest enabler. He just did successfully, Mr. Peter Grimes. Sir? Peter will be addressing us later. Good to see you, sir. Now, I know you've all been waiting to hear from Joyette herself, and I personally have so many questions. For one thing, I want to know if you can still get Roche and myself on a program, but we can talk about that later. But without further ado, let's hear from Joyette.
Thanks, Miss Amor. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello. Thanks for coming and thanks for being here to hear my story. So, yeah, the whole journey to the FWD North Pole Marathon that turned into the FWD 78-degree North Marathon, it's been absolutely incredible. To have been chosen to represent our country, the Philippines, and FWD this year is truly an honor and will be one of my most precious achievements this lifetime. The whole experience was really extraordinary. To start off, the contrast of having to train in the tropics for a race on ice in sub-zero temperatures. Prior to the trip to Norway, I've not even ran on ice. I had to make do with what we have here, so I mixed it up with running on different terrains like lots of trails and sand. So this was me in Nawag sand dunes. I spent 10 days in Oslo prior to flying to Svalbard to acclimatize. Late March was the transition from winter to spring. So the temperatures were anywhere from -2 to 8 degrees, which was just perfect. Perfect introduction for me, coming from our plus 30-degree temperatures here, right? So on April 5th, 3 days before our scheduled flight to the North Pole, I flew to Svalbard and met up with the whole FWD Team Asia. So Team Asia we're 9 runners. So So I'll give a brief introduction. So that's me in front. So these are the Hong Kong runners in front. So that's a professional runner. He does mga 2:28 marathons beside me. And then next to him is Andy Leung. He's a famous singer in Hong Kong. And then followed by Annie Liu in front also. She's a famous actress, Hong Kong actress as well. And then standing here on the left side, that's our group chief, FWD group chief customer and marketing officer, Tim Oliver. And then the next is my teammate from Thailand. So he's a host, sports show host, and also an ultra distance runner. And then next to him is Hideo Ono from Japan. He's FWD executive. Next to him is Izum Mizuaki. She's a model, Japanese model. And then next to him is Richard Donovan. He's the race organizer of the North Pole Marathon. And then our COO, FWD group COO also, Rob Shemek. And then that's Vietnamese runner who's also an action star in Vietnam, and he's climbed Everest. So there, and then that was the host of the Hong Kong launch. So yeah, so that's who I met up with. So we flew to Svalbard. That's the jump-off point to the North Pole. Svalbard is actually one of the northernmost inhabitable areas in the world. So it's actually closer to the North Pole than it is to mainland Norway. Flying into Svalbard was an experience, very, very unique experience. The whole runway was covered in ice. So I felt, just landing into Svalbard, I felt like we were landing in the North Pole already. Longyearbyen, the biggest city in Svalbard, used to be a coal mining town, but now mainly thrives on tourism for those out to seek Arctic adventures. It has a population of about 2,500 people, with about 80 Filipinos working in the hospitality industry. It's definitely unlike any place I've been. It's just absolutely beautiful and cold. So what happened during the race? So we were already in Svalbard here. So basically, there's no land in the geographic North Pole. So this is the Arctic Circle. Every year in April, a group of Russian scientists find a piece of ice closest to the North Pole that is of quality that they need, and they set up camp there. So they airdrop a bulldozer, and actually parachute people down so they can build a runway and the plane can land and they can set up camp. So together with some explorations, they host skiing expeditions, the North Pole Marathon, etc., etc. So basically, there's only about a 3-week window for all these to happen, because we're talking about ice, right? It can melt. Basically, these were all on track for the race, so the camp was set up. But a few days before the race, before we were scheduled to fly to the North Pole, there were problems with the Ukrainian Antonov jet that were supposed to take us. This plane was already in Svalbard. So they had, so planes Ukrainian, I said the camp's Russian, so there were geopolitical tensions, and they weren't allowed to fly. So the race organizer said, we're going to be delayed for a week, so to fix the tensions, and then meanwhile, he ordered the Canadian plane to take us instead. But the Canadian plane that came was smaller, so it will take double the time to bring everybody to the pole, get everybody to run, and get out of the pole safely. So what happened was basically the geopolitical issue that turned into an environment issue. So it was quickly getting warm, so there could be cracks on the ice. So it became a safety issue. So it just snowballed, literally.
It escalated.
Yes. So there. So we're not just talking about delays for the runners. all expeditions were affected. Total of about 200 people were stranded in Svalbard. During this, so in short, the issues, blah, blah, blah. So while waiting for the race though, we got to enjoy, because suddenly we had time on our hands, we got to enjoy Arctic adventures. So the highlight for me was dog sledding. I also went on a snowmobile trip with some of the teammates, which is absolutely awesome. So we also enjoyed unique dishes such as reindeer, minke whale, crabs, and moose burger. So on April 13th, we got news that all North Pole activities will be canceled. And thank God our FWD group officers were there in Norway with us. They did not want all of the training and preparation we each had to go into waste. So they asked the organizer for us to run in Svalbard instead. So technically, it still is the northernmost land-based marathon you can hold, because as I said, the North Pole is on water, running on frozen water, right? So it's still no small feat, right? So honestly, I panicked when I got the news that the North Pole Marathon will be canceled, but I got pacified once I got to talk to our group officers that were there with us, and also the Philippines office, and they said, stay put, don't worry, the race is on. With my very eyes, I saw how truly FWD's got our backs. Can you imagine? Together with the North Pole Marathon organizers, they came up with a 78-degree North Marathon in 3 days. So race day, the weather forecast for the day was cold and rainy with strong winds. We had a 4-lap out and back course. So meaning we start here, we run back, that's 1 loop. So we do it 4 times. So we had a bus. So there's nothing, right? We didn't have the camps. So we had the bus as our aid station, and our tent, it's there. I started the race very conservative. I thought I should practice my gear for the North Pole. So I put in 3 layers for the top, 2 for the torso, 2 mittens, and then with liners, 2 socks, 2 hats. But what I learned was you can actually overheat even running in the cold. So the first lap I took a bit long because I had to take out some layers. It was a bit too heavy for me. I couldn't move properly, so it took a while. So when I started, I was maybe 3rd place female. So at 20 kilometers, so after 1 loop, they helped me out of my pants.
It turned into strip marathon.
So at 20 kilometers, I passed this wonderful lady from the United Kingdom. She was running pretty well and solidly. So now at 20 Ks, I was in 2nd place. I had to keep reminding myself, just be patient. So there were very strong winds, as I said. So going out, it was hard. It felt like, because there's another car at the turnaround, it felt like the car was moved. It's always like, where's the car? Did they move the car? That's how it felt. So, but yeah, going back, it's always nice because you know the team's gonna be there. The support crew are gonna be there when you go back. Unlike most races where there are people on the course to cheer, here there's absolutely nobody. But it was never boring. The views are simply breathtaking. At the 31-kilometer mark, I passed Kiara from the US before coming in to complete my 3rd lap. I knew by then I just need to maintain and hopefully bring home 1st place. I thought about all the people back home, my family and friends from all over who were rooting for me and how much this will mean to them. So I guess they believed I could, and I was just super excited to successfully deliver.
Don't cry, because you're making me cry. Stop it.
So I've got to say, I could never have imagined winning a race on ice. It feels like cool runnings, you know what I mean? So winning fair and square feels absolutely incredible. You know how you bottle up moments and go back to that moment when you feel you're feeling down? So one of those I will remember forever is that final 500 meters waving our flag into the finish line. After the race, it took me over an hour. After I changed into clean and warm clothes to thaw out, I was freezing. So yeah, I'm extremely happy and grateful for the whole journey. Winning is really just a bonus. Though the North Pole Marathon was cancelled, the FWD 78-degree North Marathon was just as rewarding because it reminded me of the resilience and determination that we all need to have when rising from adversity. Proud of what FWD Team Asia had accomplished literally against all odds. Lastly, it was truly my honor and my pleasure to have represented FWD and the Philippines in this once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity, and I hope I made you all proud.
Yes, you certainly did. Is it me? While I was listening to her, it was like I was watching Argo. Is it Argo, the movie? Like going through all the hardships. So very inspiring. And just before, just before this event, I remember reading Joyette's very touching recounting of her memories of her father. And so I was listening to her recount it and then rereading in my head the account of Joyette, and you really truly made us proud. Parang we were there, right? Parang how she was describing it. It was like we were living it, and I was literally getting the chills. But that's really the way FWD is to all of its partners, not just to the clients, but everyone in general. You did